Space is big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's a long way down the road to the chemists, but that's just peanuts to space.
Ah, jeez, you ruined the whole quote. Life can get busy fast. If you're a student, professional, or expert, you've likely lost a decent chunk of your free time. There are a lot of video games out there, and picking one that can fit your schedule can be tough. In this series, I aim to highlight games that mesh with busy lives so that you can spend less time searching and more time playing. My name is Ian, and this is why Delta V is a good game for busy people. I've never been a delivery driver, I've never worked in a mine, and I've never been the captain of a mining ship in the rings of Saturn. In fact, I've never even considered enrolling in such a career. But Delta V Rings of Saturn has me thinking that over. As a ringer, you'll command an industrial mining ship, harvest minerals, get on the old CB radio to hail other miners, and do your best to make a living in the loneliest reaches of humanity. Although it's currently in early access, Delta V is a feature-complete game just waiting for additional missions and narratives to be added. But overall, it's a coffee cup sandbox experience that's great for a busy person who's just looking to get lost in the stars. The novel flight mechanics, one-handed control scheme, and relaxing gameplay synergize into an experience that can be fully enjoyed by busy people. Of course, if those details don't grab you, then consider checking the playlist linked for other games that I've recommended for busy people. Now, some people like to think outer space is a place of deep loneliness. I assert, however, that deep space is a place of utter calmness. Delta V is a game of commuting through deep space. Unless you send your ship careening across the rings, bouncing like a pinball off ice chunks, your ship will travel steadily across the vast openness of the cosmos. The only sounds are the rumbling of your main torch and the occasional blast of the RCS nozzles. In the end, Delta V creates an experience that's void of stressors and leaves you to the quiet introspection of maneuvering your ship, mining, and mulling over your day. After long days of working, stressful chores around the house, or even just late-night study sessions, spending some time in the rings lets that stress melt into the blackness of space. The worries of tomorrow are drowned out by the silence of vacuum and the beeping of LiDAR, beacons, and ship alarms. The simple, yet fresh controls of Delta V complement the anti-stress nature of the game. Delta V uses a robust physics engine to simulate the various mechanisms of 2D spaceflight. That sounds complex, right? I mean, I've seen a lot of space movies and they always use fancy pants math and flight paths to figure out where to go. But no, in Delta V, every ship is outfitted with an autopilot. Simply click on your target like an asteroid, and the autopilot will match velocities. And then simply clicking and dragging a little target will have your ship matching speed, going faster, going slower, going sideways, all relative to that specific target. And since you're flying the equivalent of a semi-truck, lumbering maneuvers don't happen instantly. This is no A-wing, this is a barge. And all this means you can play the game with one hand. While autopilot aligns velocities, you can sip coffee. If it's evening time, sip hot tea while your autopilot brings you closer to a chunk of iron. If it's a Friday, any number of libations can accompany a dive into the rings. I don't really think I need to belabor why that's good for busy people. Now, I'll be the first to say that a game about working does not sound like a good escape for a busy person. I don't have a particular interest in truck sims, train sims, street sweeper sims, or any other sims. But something about the serenity of Delta V drags me in. I like that Cassini and friends are vastly empty, with the only sounds coming from my ship or from the atmospheric soundtrack. The various options to outfit the ship with bigger and better components is cool, with the physics simulator running every time you try on a new impact driver or mount bigger thrusters. I hopped on to grab footage for this game, and then just lost myself making runs to the rings, not encountering any other ringers, but just floating through space, blowing up asteroids, and then loading their booty into my ship. Slow-paced games lend themselves naturally to the person who needs some additional chill-out time in their life. The vastness of space makes way for your brain to unwind while your ship effortlessly pilots itself under your commands. Gone are the days of gluing your fingers to WASD, as Delta V pioneers a fresh take on ship control, which is really what grabbed my attention to it in the first place, as a space nerd guy. Now, if you're also into space, and define yourself as busy, then Delta V Rings of Saturn is a game you shouldn't miss. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing so that you won't miss my next recommendation. And if you have suggestions for this series, leave it in a comment. Sometimes it's hard to find new games to play. All in all, I give Delta V Rings of Saturn 5 Hohmann transfers out of 5 Hohmann transfers. Highly recommended.